It is Halloween night. We are at Buffalo Trace Distillery for the Night at the Distillery tour, the walking tour. So we're going to check it out and see what it's all about. I got the video if you need to. Here we go. Through the fog. So these are our cards for the different stations we'll be going to. Station 1 is right outside the door. It is the Sazerac Neat Tasting.
So go ahead and grab a sample. After you grab your sample, head down over there and they'll get the story started in just a moment. I will take it.
We got our Sazerac Neat pour. And we move on to the stories, Professor Lydia Morrow.
As you may have read, I am a folklorist, a keeper of stories, both the ones written in ledgers and the ones whispered when the lights go out. But I stand before you here tonight not only as a professor, but as a member of the Society for Paranormal Inquiry, Research, and Investigation of Transcendent Spirits, or as we call it, SPIRITS. Our society has traveled from the fog-drenched stills of Scotland to the rickhouses of Kentucky in search of the echoes that linger where the whiskey is made. Because, you see, distilleries are not only factories of bourbon, they are sanctuaries of memory. Do you know what I like to call bourbon? Anyone? What is it? Bourbon? Yeah. I like to call bourbon a memory in a bottle. Because you see, every cask holds not only spirit, but time, char, oak, smoke, and the hands that built it. And some say here, those hands never left. 2 centuries ago, along the Kentucky River in a frontier outpost called Leestown, men first laid the stones and lit the fires that would become America's oldest continuously operating distillery. Since 1775, this distillery, through its many names, OFC, George T. Stagg, and now Buffalo Trace, has survived fires, floods, tornadoes, and even Prohibition itself. And through it all, the barrels here have never stopped breathing. Inside the warehouses, or rickhouses, as they call them, are labyrinths of oak and whiskey where the air is thick with the angels' share. But many say it's more than angels that stir inside of there. Tour guides here claim to have seen barrels tremble and shift, although they weigh over 500 pounds. So grain, oak, and fire preserve not only flavor, but the lives and legends of those who've come before. Here at Buffalo Trace, the spirits of the past are as real as the ones in your glass. The buildings here, brick and timber, have stood for over 100 years. Presidents of the distillery have lived among them. Workers have spent their lives inside of them. And so their spirits remain bound to them. Colonel E.H. Taylor is more than a brand on a label. He was flesh and blood, a perfectionist who built palaces of brick to honor his bourbon. And some say his shadow still paces the ground here, keeping eye over the aging barrels. Albert B. Blanton, who rose from office clerk to distillery president, still lingers, many say. They've seen him peering out in his rounded hat or standing solid in between the barrels as if inspecting them still, only then to vanish into the oak. Visitors here have claimed to see a little girl darting between the aisles, the niece of Colonel Blanton, who perished here. They hear her laughter echoing just beyond reach. And so these stories are why our society came here to Buffalo Trace, because we believe not all spirits can be bottled. Some whisper, some walk, some watch. And so tonight, history, mystery, and bourbon converge under the Kentucky night sky. The rickhouses may groan, the barrels may shift, and if you stand very still, you may hear voices reminding us that history lingers.
Next, we're moving to a photo spot in Building C. Too bad we can't take one of these home with us. Barrel of Weller. That one looks a lot older. More Weller. So, but he will still be jealous when I send him pictures. 5/23/14. We got fill dates. Station with like pumpkin carved barrels. Get a cocktail and we listen to more stories. So the cocktail is the Elixir of Life, a cocktail made with Sazerac 100 proof. So there's what the cocktail is made of.
Up in them right, sipping away while they're working down below. Others say, well, maybe they ain't angels. It's building the back here behind me. Now that's old man Blank's warehouse. Say they see shadow figures walking between the barrel aisles, tall and slow. If they belong there longer than any of the rest of us. Maybe a trick of the light. I think it's some of them old timers that won't leave the post even after they're died. If you go in there, walk in there by yourself, you have something start pacing. Walk alongside of you in the dark. Step for step. Breath for breath. People take pictures. Visitors, they take pictures in these buildings. They get them glowing orbs in the darkness. Some folks say that's dust caught up in the camera flash. All them orbs is dust, how they explain the ones that tend to drift against the grain of the air, or the ones that swirl around the body as if they steady. The story that spooks me the most concerns that building. The warehouse foreman told his men he'd heard a voice in there, a whisper at first. Get out. He thought it was his imagination, and heard it again, this time like a shout, clear and urgent. Get out now! Well, sir, he got out. Got his men out with him. About that time, that wall collapsed, crushing them barrels and bricks right where they had stood. If they stayed, not one of them would survive. All of them lived to tell the tale, but nary one of them could tell you whose voice it was that saved them that day.
Now we're going to do our snack boxes. Get some punch.
You're welcome. How you doing, sir?
And a little sandwich snack box.
Ready for paranormal inquiry, research, and investigation of transcendent spirits. 200 years of bourbon making afoot through this place, and with that much history, it's no surprise that not every spirit here is sealed in a bottle. We here at Spirits have been investigating, taking notes, and doing our research. It's allowing me to put some things into perspective. Paranormal activity has been happening recently. Lights flickering, 500-pound barrels trembling, recorders picking up children's laughter in the middle of the night. Spirits have been seen, ghastly apparitions wandering throughout the distillery as if they still work here. One of the more notable ones being Colonel Albert Blanton, identifiable by his rounded hat and his needled suit. In the past, with Colonel Albert Blanton's leadership, Buffalo Trace has managed to survive through plenty of ordeals, such as both world wars and the Great Depression. When a massive flood hit, in just 24 hours with his quick thinking, he had the distillery back up and running. All that being said, he dedicated his life to Buffalo Trace, so it's no surprise that when he passed, his spirit decided to stay, meandering throughout the halls as if he was still inspecting his barrels. They say his youngest niece also lingers, her laughter echoing as she darts through the halls. But if you want to get to the darkest corner of Buffalo Trace, you have to go all the way up the hill to Stony Point Mansion. Built in 1934, it was once the home of Colonel Albert Blanton himself, before he passed away in that same building 25 years later. Currently, it's just used for offices, and by day it's an ordinary building, but by night, that seems to change. It becomes one of the most haunted locations in the grounds. Employees there hear footsteps clamber up the stairs, cold hands tug at the collars of their shirts, sending chills down their spines. The former cleaner there heard singing from one of the rooms, and when she investigated, she found it to be completely empty. The PR manager one early morning looked out the window and saw a tall, gray figure standing and staring right back at them. One of the scarier stories, in my opinion, is when an employee was wandering through the basement halls in the dead of night and heard a voice call out their name directly behind them, only to turn around and find themselves completely alone. The ghost hunters themselves investigated this area, and when they did, they were greeted with all sorts of paranormal activity right from the get-go. Objects opening and closing rapidly, cabinets, things flying out of them, strange voices coming from even stranger locations, all of it recorded and caught on tape. When they left the site, they were terrified, and these were experienced hunters. Stony Point Mansion just has that kind of presence. So, when we hear spirits say that Buffalo Trace is one of the most haunted distilleries we've ever seen, we do not mean that lightly. The bourbon here is history distilled, yes, but I'd say a different history has been brewing throughout all these years. One more supernatural and paranormal. Spirits talking to people, showing themselves, making themselves known, and whispering in their ears. In my opinion, seeing as how the paranormal activity has only increased as time has gone by, it almost feels as if the spirits are growing tired of being ignored. Unfortunately, that's all I've been able to infer from my research, but I do have one request. As you continue up ahead through Buffalo Trace, if you see any paranormal activity whatsoever, please inform us here at Spirits. We could use all the information we can get. Thank you.
Hello.
How are you?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a ghost hunter or a cool chaser. I'm just working. Always have been. Or have I ever left? It's hard to say, really. It's because of this place. This place is where she keeps her own. The men and women who gave their lives for these bricks, these barrels, these stills. Because sometimes work's not over yet when your body gives out. And I've heard the stories you were told tonight. Some I've lived through, others I've only ever whispered. Like the guard who couldn't carry his burdens any further. Or the man in the dry house, taken by the screw that turns without mercy. And then the one in the boiler room, swallowed by the pulverizer hole. I knew their names once, and I know their families. Their descendants still walk these halls, so I don't speak their stories in jest. There's a man, James Wilson Banks, steady man, proud of his work in the lab, until one day, a glass burst in his face and he lost his eye. He lost his ease, but he never lost his post. Take to the photographs on the wall. I want you to look closely. You'll see his before and his after. And then there's the letters in the attic. Two souls, Alice and Bill. Love tied up and hidden under the floorboards for decades. His war, his words, her silence. Now their story waits on paper and ink. But the air in that attic holds more weight than any letter could ever read. And even Colonel Taylor himself. Some say his hand still guides things around here. Like the uncovering of Brother Pompeii. Timing was too perfect. Too many doors opening all at once. It's like the Colonel always wanted this distillery to be remembered. So you see, some spirits are bottled, others walk, some whisper, others still have to work. I've hauled these barrels, I've hammered the staves, and I've swept these floors. I felt these walls breathe. I've seen shadows staring back at me. So I'll tell you the truth. Buffalo Trace is alive. Alive with memories. And alive with ghosts. And as for me, I'll be here long after you're gone. Because whether I'm a man or just another trace, that's for you to decide.
Hello.
Hello, do you want me to explain it to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, you're gonna get that for free. Any non-alcoholic merchandise that you get tonight is 10% off, so stuff it full. Grab some bourbon balls, some Freddies, anything like that. At the end of the night, as you're leaving, you're gonna go that way, and that's where you're gonna get your free Sazerac bottle. So we aren't discounting any alcohol, but we will give you a free bottle as you go out the door. All right?
Thank you. So we get a bottle of Sazerac 100, we get a free tote bag, and we get 10% off any non-alcohol merchandise. And here's their cigar humidor with all the Buffalo Trace cigars, which the ones I've tried I don't particularly like. So I'm not going to be getting any for those prices. Although the new Cohiba Weller Red is out, it's $35 here. They got E.H. Taylor out, but I have a ton of Taylor. So I am not going to grab one.